Hello, I'm Chris Adams. Welcome to Guitar in Perfect Fourths tuning number 37, 6 ways to play a two-octave major triad in second inversion in one-hand position. So by the end of this lesson, you're going to learn 6 ways to play a two-octave arpeggio in the major triad. That's the same notes in the same order. We have a major third, the minor third, and the fifth as the 3 intervals that we make up the major chord. And that's it. And making perfect fourth tuning makes this way easier than memorizing the hundreds of shapes for caged tuning. You just basically memorize 3. So it's much easier. So in the link, in the description, there's links to PDFs and other cool stuff, like so many people have. So in other videos in this series, I've been in the key of C, which confusingly with this guitar, since I'm tuned down to D, the notes are gonna sound as if they're 2 frets lower. So I'm not using any open strings, so you'll be able to follow along if you want. But I made this diagram based on my guitar, so that's what I'm doing. I've been in the key of C before. Now I'm going to go to the key of F, because in the key of C I kind of run out of frets. So, but the idea is the same. So we're going to start with the second inversion, which is for a little bit of review. It's this E shape. So when you play an E chord down here, and you have your fingers the way you've had them, the very first guitar chord you learned in a different key. That shape without the bottom string is the first inversion, second inversion of the chord. So we play it up here for an F. So the F chord, just get the sound back in our brains. Whoops. This is it. So if we play So if you start on the second inversion, that's what you get. So we'll go over these notes. So in this string pattern here, you'll see the same notes. So you see, if we're going from the bottom to the top, the root note, we see it on the 13th fret, and then again at the 8th fret, and then the major third, you see it on the 12th fret, and then the 7th fret, and so on. So I'll play through this so we can see all the notes we're going to be working with. So we start on the 8th fret, perfect 5th. We go to the 13th fret for the root, and the same root is, we find it again on the 8th fret, and we go up a major third on the 12th fret, see it, find it again on the 7th fret, then we go up to the 5th, we play the same 5th on the 5th fret, we go to the root on the 10th fret, play the same on the 5th fret, we're on the major third, and the 5th. So we start here, and 2 octaves later, we get the 5th up there. So this way of doing things combines triad inversions. Because we're in perfect fourths, you're gonna see the shapes match, which is kind of nice to have. In other videos I've done, I go into a lot more detail about how inversions work. This kind of assumes that you know basically what an inversion is. You don't need to know, but to follow along, this is pretty basic level through this whole series, and kind of my approach for doing these videos at all is to go back to, I'm calling it first principles thinking. It's a way, so for myself, I've been playing guitar for, more than 40 years, and I played a lot of bands, and I memorized the cage, and we jammed the blues and all that stuff. But I realized that I was getting stuck a lot because I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I just memorized the box shape, and I kind of got around some of the other boxes, but I didn't really have any freedom. So I just a couple of years ago, I went to perfect fourths tuning. I said, you know what, I'm going to go all the way back to intervals and triads and rebuild my guitar knowledge. And it's been a journey. It's been a few years. But it's been very worthwhile, and I've gotten a lot more freedom, and I can see the path forward when I watch a lot more advanced players Now, before it would just like blow my mind and I couldn't even figure out what they're doing, even though they're trying to explain it to me. But now after working with this type of methodical, slow process, I can start moving around a lot more freely. Anyway, there's 7 notes altogether. So we're going to have the first triad an octave higher. So we start here, an octave higher, and we're going to add that 8th note in there to make the second octave. So we're going to play all the notes in order. They're not going to repeat any notes, and it's the same notes, but we're just going to move through, and we're going to move the notes down the pattern as we go. So yeah. So here is the 2 notes are going to get played on the highest string closest to the ground, and we're starting on the second inversion. So we're going to go on the 8th fret. We have our 5th, the root, the 3rd, the 5th. The 5th on the 5th fret, root on the 5th fret, major 3rd on the 4th fret. Oops, yuck. Try again. 5th on the 5th fret, root on the 5th fret, major 3rd on the 4th fret, perfect 5th on the 7th fret. Now going back down again. 7th fret, 4th fret for the major 3rd, 5th fret for the root, 5th fret for the perfect 5th, 7th fret for the major 3rd, 8th fret for the root, and 8th fret for the perfect 5th. And as you notice, there's the repeated second inversion here. And we go up an octave. If I can get it right. So we'll try it one more time. The 8th fret, and on the 5th fret, on 2 strings over, and we're going to grab this again. And as you're practicing this, you can practice in string skipping and string pairs. I'll do other videos where I go into more ideas about that, but you can say, I'm just going to play pairs of strings. That's one way to do this, and you can also skip strings. So there's infinite number of patterns obviously to play, and the patterns repeat perfectly because it's the 4th tuning, not because it's the 4th tuning, because the tuning is symmetrical, the shapes are symmetrical, and you only have to learn kind of like you can play this basically one shape, the E chord shape that you know so well. So now we're going to move down and have 2 notes on the 2nd string. So we're starting again on the 8th fret with perfect 5th, the root, the 3rd, major 3rd on the 7th fret, perfect 5th on the 5th fret, root on the 5th fret, and we're going to go up to the 3rd on the 2nd string, and play that 5th on the 7th fret. Now going backwards. 5th on the 7th fret, 3rd on the 9th fret, root on the 5th fret, perfect 5th on the 5th fret, 3rd on the 7th fret, root on the 8th fret, perfect 5th on the 8th fret. And we're going to go to the next pattern where the root, we're going to play the 2 notes on the 3rd string now. So again at the 8th fret, perfect 5th, root on the 8th fret, major 3rd on the 7th fret, perfect 5th on the 5th fret, big jump to the root on the 10th fret, 3rd on the 9th fret, major 3rd, and perfect 5th on the 7th fret. Now coming back down, 7th fret, perfect 5th, 9th fret, major 3rd, 10th fret root, perfect 5th on the 5th fret, major 3rd on the 7th fret, root root on the 8th fret, perfect 5th on the 8th fret, and we have a repeating pattern here, the root position. So we have this one, and then we go up an octave, same shape. Same shape. Now we're going to move it again, move the pattern again. So now we're going to play the starting again on the same note. Perfect 5th on the 8th fret, root on the 8th fret, major 3rd on the 7th fret, perfect 5th on the 10th fret, root on the 10th fret, major 3rd on the 9th fret, perfect 5th on the 7th fret. Coming back down, 5th, 3rd, root, 5th, 3rd, root, 5th. And here we have a repeated pattern of the second inversion shape. Okay. Now we have 2 notes on the 5th string. So we're going to start off with the perfect 5th, the root on the 8th fret, the major 3rd on the 12th fret, perfect 5th on the 10th fret, root on the 10th fret, major 3rd on the 9th fret, perfect 5th on the 7th fret. All right, then we're going to go, whoops, spoiler alert, now we're on the final one. So 2 notes on the 6th string. So we start on the perfect 5th at the 8th fret, then we're going to go to the root on the 13th fret, the major 3rd on the 12th fret, perfect 5th on the 10th fret, root on the 10th fret, major 3rd on the 9th fret, perfect 5th on the 7th fret. And we have a major chord here, and the same major chord here. Root position, oops. So 13th fret, 12th fret, 10th fret, and we have 10th fret, all right, so you have you start having a little fun with that. The major scale you can hear when you start going around the triad this way and doing the string skipping like I just was there, you'll start to really hear melodies, nursery rhymes and stuff like that. You'll hear those tonalities come out because so many of them are built off the major scale and working around the major scale and the major triad specifically. So make some music with this. Thanks for watching. So here's a couple of my books. I have more, but these are the most relevant ones here. So that there's the first book on the left there is Guitar in 4th Gear, transitioning from standard tuning to perfect 4th tuning. It's a way to kind of see the light and have a much simpler way to learn guitar or relearn guitar, as some of us are doing. And then the second book there is with the metallic cover is Triad Studies for Perfect 4th Guitar Tuning. And it goes into a lot of detail on triads very methodically. You learn all the triads and all the shapes, but there's 1/3 as many as caged, so it's a great head start. And here's my website for more information on all kinds of awesome stuff that I do, and even the lousy stuff that I do. It's a lot of it's still there. So there's links to PDFs and stuff like that. If you got this far, thanks for watching. And if you didn't, thanks for watching anyway, and have a great day.